All right. Well, thank you everybody for taking your lunch break to hear about a great update on AI in manufacturing. I'm Ashley Sparks, one of our manufacturing partners here at Boyum and Barenscheer. Our manufacturing team here at Boyum, we've heard a lot of feedback from our clients that they're unsure of how to implement Boyum or, implement AI in their company, unsure of where to start the process, and not even knowing what AI is still. So we're really excited to have Tori here from Victoria 5 Consulting to give an overview of AI and just how to adopt it into your company. Thanks, Tori, for spending your lunch hour with us. Take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ash. Appreciate the opportunity. So, as I'm sure many of you know, AI is really quite a buzzword right now, but it's more than just a buzzword. It truly is revolutionizing all types of businesses, and manufacturing is no different. In fact, manufacturing seems to be leading the pack in different areas that are implementing and making use of AI. So this webinar is intended to provide a high-level view of AI. We won't get into the nuts and bolts too much. We don't have a lot of time, but give you just a little bit of a roadmap on what you need to do to prepare to implement AI in your business. So as Ash said, my name is Tori. Last name is Bjorklund. You can tell by the gray hairs, I've been consulting for a long time. I'm the co-founder and Chief Technology Officer of a capital equipment company, an engineer-to-order manufacturing company. So I've had that background for several years. But over the last 10 years, I've also worked with many smart people, including my partner, Adele Gracer, to develop the Victorified process for transformational change. And this is a process that's been proven to equip companies to succeed with their transformational technology initiatives. A couple of other little things about me. I love technology, but not because I'm a nerd. I am a nerd, but that's not why I love technology. I don't love technology for technology's sake. I love the possibility that technology provides to businesses. And then I guess the last little thing, my marketing team says you should tell a little bit about yourself personally. So I'm a risk taker. I like to go fast. I like to take risks. So I do things like play hockey, barefoot water ski, and ride motorcycles, especially love riding them off road. So just a little bit about myself. I want to talk a little bit about AI and what it means and just kind of the types of AI that are available. Now, there's several different ways to categorize AI. And I like to use a categorization that specifies what the AI agent does. So most AI that's being used today is considered narrow AI, or some people will call it weak AI. And basically, what that means is it's designed and developed. The model is developed to do specific tasks. It gets pretty good at one task, maybe a few different tasks, and it's specialized for those tasks. So that's why it's called narrow AI. An example of different kinds of tasks that these AI agents are specialized for is things like virtual assistants or rule-based systems, spam detection, for example, email management, and things like that. So within the category of narrow AI, you have a lower level of categorization that's based on the purpose of the AI tool. And so I've listed a few of these here. Generative AI is probably the most commonly used AI. It creates new content. And so you're probably familiar with ChatGPT. It can create text. There's a lot of AI agents that can create images, music, or videos based on data that's used to train it. So generative AI uses machine learning models to generate original outputs based on patterns and data. So I say it's original, but it will always follow a pattern. So it's pretty often easy to recognize. But it does try to produce human-like text. There's ChatGPT, as I mentioned, is an example of that. There's DALL-E is another one that creates images from textual descriptions. And so there's several of those out there. There's another category of narrow AI that is predictive AI. Now, predictive AI, the intent of that is to be able to forecast future events or trends based on historical data. So it uses statistical analysis and machine learning algorithms to identify patterns in past data to make predictions about future outcomes. For example, it may predict stock market trends, customer behavior, or maintenance needs. And this is where you find things like business forecasting, personalized marketing, risk management. It's can be used for sales forecasting, demand planning, and that sort of a thing. Predictive maintenance is another place that predictive AI is used for preventative maintenance. It can predict that there's a breakdown likely on a piece of machinery based on certain inputs. So that's predictive AI. Another narrow AI category is descriptive AI. It provides insights and summaries of data and other information. So what it does is it analyzes data to generate insights, to summarize that information, and it's always information that's happened in the past. It's not trying to predict anything, but it focuses on interpreting historical data to identify trends and patterns and anomalies, and to provide a clear understanding of various situations. So the descriptive AI can be used in things like business intelligence, customer analytics, and reporting. It's really good at analyzing past performance. And then another area that I'll mention is prescriptive AI, which that attempts to recommend actions based on data and other information. So it predicts outcomes, recommends actions to achieve desired results. And this will use various algorithms and models based on data analysis to suggest the best course of action in complex decision-making scenarios. So prescriptive AI is used in fields such as supply chain management, healthcare, finance, and marketing. So those are some of the different areas. And really, a lot of these are beginning to get combined into tools. And we can talk a little bit about that in a little bit. So going on to the next slide there, I just before we talk about the uses of AI specific to manufacturing, I want to talk about general applications for AI in business that's not specific to, basically to any business, not specific to manufacturing. So one of the ways that AI has really changed things is with email management. So I use a product called SaneBox. And by the way, I'm not selling any of these products today. I mean, I don't sell products, so I'm not selling any of these products, but I thought it would be a practical application to let you know what are some of the things that I use. And so I use a product called SaneBox, and there's other products as well out there that prioritize important messages and reduce my inbox clutter. And it really does save me a lot of time and improve my productivity. AI can assist in creating documents. And if I were to guess, I would say that probably most of you have used some form of document generation AI. It's pretty good at generating job descriptions, for example, agreements. We've used it to put together some agreements, things like that. Of course, it's not going to take the place of an attorney, but it can be helpful with certain agreements that are, handshake style agreements, but you want to get something down on paper. Marketing automation is another area that leverages AI, that enhances targeting, personalization, campaign optimization. This is probably something that you have experienced, and you can sometimes identify some of the ad emails that are coming in or LinkedIn reach outs and things like that as maybe not hitting the mark, and those are often AI generated, but some of them are pretty good. So marketing automation is another area that is leveraging AI. And then note-taking. Note-taking tools, I'll tell you, we use one called Fathom. And if we have time at the end, I might demonstrate that a little bit. But it captures meeting and presentation notes in real time, transcribes them, enables you to search, for example, for easy reference later on. In my work in software development, one of the things that we found is that some of the best some of our best engineers were just simply good at taking better notes than other people, and they were better at hitting the target because they had really good notes. And a note taking system can really help you do that. I'm not a great note taker, and so I've found these note taking tools to just be game changers for me. So these are some of the areas, just general, any business could benefit from. There's a good chance that you're probably already taking advantage of some of these things. So there are some cautions I also want to talk about around AI. It's really important to consider security implications when you're using AI in business. As it becomes more and more integrated into business processes, it's crucial to ensure that data and information are protected from potential cyber threats. Implementing robust security measures, staying informed about AI security can help mitigate these risks. You need to think about these things, and they kind of go hand in hand: security and privacy, confidentiality. Now, privacy and confidentiality seem connected, but they're different. One of the things when you think about privacy, for example, if you're training an AI agent, let's say a customer service, for example, and you're training it using some data that actually contains information about your clients, you could expose that information to people outside the organization that are chatting with that bot. So you want to make sure to really be careful about privacy concerns associated with the data that you're using to train these AI agents, and think that through. Confidentiality as well, similarly. But this could include confidential information. You might have an NDA on some things. And if you, for example, are using something internally that exposes somebody else's trade secrets to people in your organization, and they are not aware that you're under NDA with that, that can expose your organization in ways that you don't obviously intend. So these are some areas that you really need to think about that are connected: security, privacy, and confidentiality. Now, there's some other areas related to AI that you should be aware of. First of all, accuracy. AI is not as accurate as one might be led to believe at times, and we might even demonstrate a little bit of that at the end. And it also has biases, meaning, and this could be, could be not just cultural biases, but it could be favoring a particular outcome in some way that's not necessarily in the best interest of your organization. So, for example, if you're doing solution selection, we use AI in our solution selection platform, and if it's favoring a particular product over other products, it may be that product may be showing up in searches that it might not be the best fit for, and showing up ahead of other products. So you need to be aware that AI can gain bias through the information that is used to train that particular product. And then I call it unintelligence. AI systems are designed to be intelligent, but they can sometimes produce really unexpected and nonsensical results. It's important to be aware of this and make sure that you have adequate human oversight in place to mitigate the potential risks that come from this, what they call hallucinations. And again, if I have some time at the end, maybe I'll get a chance to demonstrate some hallucinations. In I'll probably use Copilot for that, but it's true in all the different AI products. So these are things you need to be aware of. And if you're building, particularly if you're building your own, have an AI project going internally, you need to take really significant caution in these areas and make sure you're protecting data, security, privacy, confidentiality, making sure that you've adequately tested your agents and your products, AI products, and make sure that you're not introducing biases if you're expecting it to do some decision support, for example, and then also make sure that you have adequate user and human intervention to make sure that you're compensating for some of the unintelligent things that AI might produce. I'm just going to, as an example, which I want to give you here, this is a screenshot that I did in Copilot, just asking Copilot how many R's are in strawberry. And you and I know that there's 3. Copilot said that there's 2. And I continued this query and said, are you sure? Maybe check it out. It literally spelled out, it argued with me. And I said, I think there's 3, and spelled out the word strawberry, STR, just across the screen, and then say, see, there's 2. And it's just kind of hilarious, but that's the kind of thing that, it can be funny in these kinds of examples, but can really, that kind of hallucination can really create problems if you're depending on it in a, let's call it inappropriate way in your company for decision support and things like that. So let's talk about AI in adoption in manufacturing. So if I were to guess, I would say that probably most of you are using AI in some way in your company. It's gained a lot of adoption right now. According to Machine Design Magazine, manufacturing leaders report that AI is moderately functional in their organization. 93% of the people in the survey said that it's moderately functional in their organization. So that's pretty high level of adoption. According to Datamation, there's significant regional differences, though, in AI adoption, with the U.S. significantly behind the rest of the world in AI adoption, which is interesting to me. I'm not quite sure why that is the case, but this has been consistently happening for the last couple of years. Another thing to mention is that various studies have shown, varying amounts of improvement over productivity and that sort of thing. But one study showed that organizations that use AI at scale, so that doesn't mean that it's just partially implemented, but they're making great use of AI within the organization, are seeing about 11.5% performance gain in their company. So the data is showing that AI is gaining traction in manufacturing, but there's really still room for improvement, especially in the US, which lags behind the other regions. So let's talk a little bit about potential use cases in manufacturing, other than some of the general ones that we just talked about. So it really is, manufacturing is a key industry where AI is driving some significant value and innovation. And there are a lot of different use cases. And if you went out, say, on Google or to Copilot or ChatGPT and said, what are the top use cases for AI in manufacturing, you'd probably come up with a slightly different list, but there's a good chance that these four would be on that list. I believe these are really some of the use cases that have the greatest possibility for return. So one of the key ones is preventative or predictive maintenance. AI will analyze sensor data to identify potential equipment issues and downtime, which will allow companies to optimize performance and avoid costly failures. And I'll just give you an example of this. When we were, as I mentioned, I was in a capital equipment company. We built things like case packers, used a lot of servo drives. And one of the things that we could do is evaluate the amount of current that a particular drive requires to make a motion. And we know the range for that. And when it starts getting outside of the range, we could then predict the particular problems. Now, it might be bearing issue, for example, going out. It might just be a matter of something needing to be cleaned. So what we would do is for some of these kinds of predictive capabilities, we would get the engineers to tell us what would be the likely causes of these kinds of problems, bake that into the system, and then provide predictive maintenance so that if something is not scheduled for maintenance, but it's showing signs of potential problem, we can report that, and the machine then can ask for itself to be repaired. So that's an example of a really good example of predictive maintenance capabilities that are available today. Another critical area is quality control. And one of the areas of machine vision has really improved over recent years. And that machine vision technology can really help to detect defects in products. And so whereas you used to have to take sampling to maintain quality from production, now there's the possibility to literally with machine vision technology to evaluate the quality of every product running through your system. So you can then ensure consistent quality and really get a benefit there. So quality control is another critical area where AI can work. Another area, AI-powered demand and supply planning models really can help manufacturers predict market demand, can allow you to optimize inventory levels and production. We'll talk a little bit about that maybe a little later. Also, AI can forecast fluctuations in raw material prices. That can really be helpful in supporting strategic purchasing decisions and cost management. So these are some of the possible use cases that in manufacturing and can really help drive efficiency, quality, and cost savings. So there are some challenges in implementing AI, and I want to talk about that. So businesses see potential value in AI. In a recent McKinsey survey, 83% said they believe that it will have a noticeable impact, but only 27% are currently realizing value from their AI projects. So whereas there's a high level of expectation, the realization really is not there yet for a lot of organizations. 56% said they expect to see value from AI in the next 2 to 5 years. Yet, here's the big scary thing. This is a Deloitte survey. 91% of AI projects fail to meet expectations. So imagine if you say, well, we might want to pursue this project. What's the ROI on that? Well, the expected benefit is this, and therefore based on, and this is the expected cost, and based on this expected benefit, it should pay for itself in 2 years or whatever the case is. So you've done this ROI projection, but now you find out that it is not meeting those expectations, those 2 years could go out to 5 years, 10 years, or worse. So that is something that you need to consider, and something that we run into quite often. One of the reasons that AI implementations are very challenging is the volume of data that we're just really lots of data is not necessarily a problem. It's but in a lot of cases it's the quality of the data as well. So if you're generating this much data, so there's 1,812 petabytes that are being generated annually right now, and that kind of data is very difficult to deal with. Now, just let me help you with the scale of that, because we don't normally talk about petabytes. So if you think that roughly an average movie takes about 1 gigabyte of space, that would mean that a petabyte could store roughly 1 million movies. So that's 1,812 petabytes, is about 1.8 billion movies. So the quality and availability of data is a tremendous impact on the success of AI projects. And without high quality and sufficient data, the accuracy and effectiveness of AI algorithms can be compromised. And this challenge really highlights the need for organizations to invest in data collection, data cleaning, and data management to ensure the success of your AI implementations. So let's take a look at what should you be thinking about doing to prepare for AI in your organization. So there's several key steps that you should consider. The first thing, as we mentioned, data maturity is really an important aspect here. And I use the term data maturity and not just data quality. So there's multiple aspects to data maturity. The data infrastructure, the way that the data is being collected, for example, the ability to collect it, the completeness of the data, making sure that you're identifying any gaps in your data collection, and then also, of course, data quality is a major aspect. So data I refer to that as data maturity. So it's the means of the data structure, the means of collecting the data, the completeness of the data, and the quality of the data all combined. And that's what makes data maturity. So you need to look at that data maturity, determine if you have the adequate level of data maturity to be able to utilize your data in an AI initiative. The next thing you want to think about is automating your processes. So automating repetitive tasks, automating the tasks that you intend to utilize with AI is an important aspect. So for example, and this comes back to data as well, if majority of your decision making in, let's say, your supply chain planning, your material requirements, let's say, is being done in a spreadsheet, you're not likely going to be able to utilize AI for that. That spreadsheet is owned by one person. They're copying and pasting data, maybe entering data. If that is a manual process, the chances of utilizing AI in that process is very slim. It's going to be a very challenging thing to do. On the other hand, if you have automated material requirements planning, you've established the necessary parameters to successfully plan for the materials to meet your demand. If you have also means of, you have automated planning for capacity, for example, you have your routes correctly recorded in the system that's used for that capacity. Your operations are correct. All of that information is necessary just to simply automate that today without the use of AI. But what that does is that moves the ball forward so that now you have standardized information, standardized data, you have standardized processes, and then you can begin to think about how to optimize those with the use of AI. So that's why it's important to automate your processes, focus on automating your processes before you focus on integrating AI into those processes. The third thing is, and I really can't stress this enough, is really to start small. Start with something simple. I use the concept, I mean, obviously it's not mine. I've heard it many times elsewhere, but of crawl, walk, run. You wanna treat AI as something that you need to gain a lot of experience with before you can undertake a significant initiative that has high risk because of high cost, and instead start with something small, implementing it. For example, one of the things I wanted to build our own agent that would help with our process for transformational change and allow our consultants to be able to query that agent to find out, how would we describe this? What are the number of steps? What's the next step after this? What are the inputs for this particular process? Those kinds of things. And so building a small AI agent that utilizes our definition for our process for transformational change. It's a relatively small project, something that could be done in a week or less, can be proven out to be whether successful or not. There's going to be a lot of learnings that we take from that we can then roll out into larger projects. The other thing I would mention in terms of not only starting small, but keep it internal. Because of some of the concerns that we talked about with the data security, confidentiality, and privacy, as well as even the accuracy. So make sure that when you're testing things out, when you're starting with some of these small projects, make sure that you are using them internally only. And then try to find out if it answers questions, for example, that you don't want others to have information to. And so, for example, if you are wanting to have some type of an AI agent that will help answer questions about products, and you've trained that with data from your inventory system, but you don't want to have cost information in there. And, start with a small proof of concept, and then ask it questions like, how much does this cost? And those kinds of things that you don't want to get an answer to. So, and do it internally, and then you can start rolling things out externally or scaling them up after you've gained the confidence that it's going to meet your requirements for security, privacy, and confidentiality. So start small and then scale from there. The other thing is upskilling your workforce. Investing in training programs to develop AI-related skills. So, some of the things, cobots are starting to become very common, cooperative robots, and that takes some training to actually utilize those properly. Even just simply prompting, and maybe I'll have some time to demonstrate that, but how you do prompts is an important skill set. I know that prompt engineers have become a thing. I'm not sure I would take it that far, but it certainly does require a skill set. And so getting some training in that area, so upskilling your workforce. one of the things, and I was looking at a report yesterday, and I didn't have the time to integrate that into this presentation, but what's interesting is that this was a McKinsey report, actually, I believe it was, but the people that were surveyed in 2024, March of 2024, leadership was thinking that AI would lead to a net job loss in June. So just a few months later, 2024, the same group of people that were surveyed now said, no, actually, we think that it will just allow us to scale our output, but we will actually have to be hiring people in spite of the use of AI. So we need to be thinking about that. And this comes into the area of organizational change management, but it's also tied to upskilling your workforce. There's a good likelihood that that AI is not going to be replacing jobs, but it is going to be changing jobs. And for example, I used an AI product called Gamma to generate this PowerPoint. But I couldn't just, somebody without my knowledge on the topic could not just give it a few prompts and have it generate this thing and crank it out. It took me several hours. It did save me a lot of time in building this, but it still takes the skill set of verifying, making sure it has accurate information, having my marketing person make sure that it matches our brand and those kinds of things and right colors and all of that. So that's where I think, we're not going to see the workforce be as impacted as some people maybe fear, but we do need to make sure that we're upskilling our workforce to be able to work with the tools. And then I think the real advantage there, and that this is something that I hope you take home with you, really what's going to happen, I think, is it's going to allow you to leverage the skill set of your people where they can be doing what they do best. Like in my case, as I was preparing this presentation, I'm thinking about AI and the use of it. I'm not thinking about, do I have the right images and the right layout and things like that. And so you can really, I think, with AI, leverage the skill set of the people that you have, but you're going to have to provide a little bit of training to do that. And that gets back, as I mentioned, to the organizational change management. You need to foster a culture of experimentation, collaboration, and innovation in your organization. But you also need to address the concerns around job displacement and things like that, as well as, of course, ethical considerations as you integrate AI. There are a lot of questions that are unanswered at this point with AI, particularly, for example, with generational products that are pulling from information from the other sources and maybe not providing proper attribution for those sources. So those are some ethical considerations as well. So organizational change management is a really important aspect of rolling out AI in your organization. Last thing here, I just want to mention as a next step, we're going to go to a Q&A in just a minute here, but we do have a seminar coming up that Boyum and Barenscheer is sponsoring coming up in January. So I just thought I'd mention that here as well. And maybe I'll turn it back over to Ash and we can take questions.
Thanks, Tori. That's great information. It's interesting just hearing about how manufacturing is implementing AI. Here at Boyum, we have an innovation committee, and so they really have dove into how we can use it here. And a lot of your, general uses we've implemented, but to your point, it's really upskilling people and training them how to use it so it's effective. So yeah, great information there. If you have any questions, just please post them into the chat. You had listed, Tori, automate processes as a preparation step for AI. Can you just expand a little bit more on that automation? And, we internally, we have someone who's dedicated to automation and help us with that. Is that as far as people should go and having someone that be their role, or what's the best way to approach that automation process?
Yeah. So we're beginning to see new roles in organizations, digital transformation engineer or chief digital transformation officer I've seen before. There's all the way throughout the organization with terms like that. And I think it is a good idea to have people whose primary role is to have their eye on that ball. But we've been doing, and I say we, I mean in the manufacturing industry, since the late 80s and early 90s, there have been various forms of process improvement, right? And we know how to do that. And the question becomes, have we taken advantage of best practices today in these areas that we want to utilize AI for in our business? So I mentioned, for example, material requirements planning. Another area is forecasting. If you don't have a forecast today, AI is not going to help you. You can, if on the other hand you have a pretty good forecast, but it's not accurate because of a lot of different external factors, for example, well, that's where AI is really good. One of the things that AI can do really well is take a lot of information and distill it and utilize it then in a way that can be useful to you. And so, for example, there's products out there that are actually looking at, and of course, you have to train it on the information for your organization. But if your supply chain is susceptible to weather fluctuations, for example, because of trucking, transportation of product, and those kinds of things, I can actually take that into account and determine the likelihood of certain weather events across the country or across the world, for that matter, the impact that it could have on your supply chain. That'll work really well. But if you haven't automated your supply chain in any way, that information is not going to do you any good, because it won't have the information necessary to be able to make predictions for you in that way. Forecasting is notoriously difficult. That's another area that AI can really forecast customer demand. So your demand forecasting can look at past history, but you need to have a lot of good history for it to be able to say, hey, I see some patterns here that will likely affect your orders next month or something like that. And without any form of automation, you're not going to have the data available to be able to feed those models.
We have another question from Jared. You had mentioned all the different general business uses. What's likely to bring the highest or quickest return out of those business uses?
Yeah, that kind of depends on your organization and the challenges you face. But in my experience, and particularly if you're involved in engineering, and a lot of manufacturers do engineer their own products and whatnot, the note taker, I've gotten to the point where even if I'm meeting with somebody in a conference room, I spin up a meeting and throw my note taker on. And even though we aren't using the Teams meeting to communicate with each other, we're using the Teams meeting to take notes for that meeting. And this is relatively inexpensive, very easy to use. I think that has immediate payback.
Great. And if anybody has any other questions, you can post it into the Q&A. Or else, if Tori, if you had anything else that you wanted to share at the end here.
Sure. I mean, one of the things that I thought about doing is to talk about is to just demonstrate um, some of the interesting things that with some of the concerns with AI. If I could do that, I'd be happy to share my screen and just do a quick demonstration. Let me hit share. Right, there we go. So you should be able to see my Copilot screen here, and I have saved off some prompts, and I just wanted to demonstrate. So I mentioned about working on a AI product for ourselves internally that um, utilizes information about our process for transformational change. Um, but let me just show you a little what we call a hallucination in this. So, and it's really not. Is this, to be fair, this isn't a true hallucination. But I asked the question: how many major steps are there in the prepare for change step of the process for transformational change? Now, this is more a demonstration of how you have to prompt this properly. That makes sense to me as a question. And so one of my consultants might ask that, or one of my clients when we talk to them about our process for transformational change. And the thing is, Copilot doesn't know that we're talking about Victorified's process for transformational change. And so it comes up with these five major steps. Now, if I'd have asked for six, it would have come up with six major steps. If I'd have asked for three, it would have told, it's making the stuff up. Now, it actually, for transformational change, it's actually not bad. It didn't come up with something completely unrelated to the question, but it just didn't really answer the question I wanted to answer, mostly because I didn't ask the right question. So if I just change this to say Victoria Fides process for transformational change, this is doing what is called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. And so what it did is it went out and searched, and it found information from our website, from Victorified's website, about the process for transformational change. And there's the four major steps in our process for transformational change. So it tells us that there's four. And it lists them out, and it's actually accurate. What's interesting is when I was building our agent, it was not going out and looking, but it was just making the stuff up. And until I could get it trained properly, I couldn't get a real answer, but it looked plausible. But if I didn't know what our process said, it was totally wrong. And I was just making the stuff up. So that's, in this case, it's a combination of the hallucination. This really wasn't a hallucination. I was asking it more specific questions in my previous exam in the product I was building, and it was just making stuff up, which is what AI will do. It will always try to give you an answer. Sometimes it'll say, "I don't have enough information," or "Please clarify," but it tries to give an answer because that's what it's built to do, and it may be completely bogus. And it's sometimes hard to know whether it's bogus or not, and that's why you really have to have knowledge in the area that you're utilizing it in.
We do have one more question
Sure.
from Ellen. Can you speak to how to get employees on board and invested with AI?
On board, and what was the?
Just how to get your employees invested in AI. You know,
in AI.
if you're talking about implementing AI, we've seen it at our firm that it's a really slow burn to get people to start using the product. So Have you seen any best practices to get people to really be curious and wanting to use those products?
Um, I guess I haven't seen. I tell you what I would recommend. I'm trying to think if I'd seen other people say, here's a best practice. So I don't know whether this is a best practice or not, but this is what I would recommend doing. And we've found this actually to work fairly well in different areas. But in essence, the concept of gamifying. So the idea of saying, hey, we're going to ask people to participate in some type of a contest or game or something like that, where we would like you to utilize AI to do something. And
Mm,
just where the outcome, there's no downside for people. It's and so you know whatever that task might be, and, and you can do something even as simple as saying, hey, use AI to write a job description, and and then based on the information that you provide to everybody, you want to get a job description out, and then see who comes up with what you think, and have maybe a group of people vote on that, and then give them a gift card, $100 gift card or something to the winner. The idea is just to get people using it and starting to feel comfortable with it. Also understanding what are the drawbacks for it, because the first time they generate that and they'll go, oh, I probably didn't prompt this thing properly. I can do better, and that sort of thing. So gamifying is a really good way to get people interested, and then giving them some form of reward is a good way to get them invested.
great. Well, thank you for that insight. So thank you, Tori, for the presentation today. This was great information. To all the attendees, we'll send out a follow-up email with some information in it. Also, we will be sending out a manufacturing newsletter next week with some great content and a copy of this recording too. Thanks
All
so
right.
much.